Let's learn some advanced C1 verbs to help you build your vocabulary. And this may seem challenging because some words are rather similar. And sometimes it can be difficult to differentiate between two words. But that's why I'm here. I want to teach you some of the slight nuances to help you be more precise and easily differentiate between different words and phrases. So let's begin with a verb that I have mentioned twice already: differentiate. This means to show or find the difference between two things that are compared. So it may be difficult to differentiate between American and British English, software and hardware, facts and opinions. And you're often going to follow this verb with the preposition between, to differentiate between two things.
Transporter cannot differentiate between Dr. McCoy and the torpedo.
Michael, I cannot differentiate between the hostages and the guards.
A program that could differentiate between foreign and domestic.
When pronouncing this verb, there are 5 syllables and the stress is on that third syllable. Differentiate. Differentiate. Keep in mind that the T-I-A-T-E at the end of the word has a shiate sound. So this is when the spelling and pronunciation don't really match. Differentiate. And if you are someone who would like to be able to differentiate between words and phrases that are similar, then let me help you develop your vocabulary. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, that way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes, the channel is Interactive English, which is all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And throughout the lesson, I am going to tell you the meaning of these different verbs. I'll talk a little bit about how they're used in context, and we'll go over the pronunciation so that you can say them clearly and naturally. The next verb is broaden. This means to increase the range of something. And there are some great collocations with this verb. These are words that are frequently used together. So you can broaden your horizons. This is an idiom that means you're increasing the range of things you know about or your experiences. You can also broaden your mind. In this case, you're increasing the knowledge that you have about something. You can broaden the scope of something, and if we were talking about politicians, they may need to broaden their support. Let me show you some news headlines so you can see how this verb is used in context. Local historian urges town to broaden horizons when it comes to school names. Does travel broaden the mind? Not according to new research. US and China agree to broaden talks in bid to ease tensions. When pronouncing this verb, there are 2 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, broaden. Now, one thing I want you to be aware of is that you may hear people pronounce this with a glottal stop. So listen to the difference between broaden and broaden. The sounds coming from the throat down here. Broaden, broaden. It's something that you may hear, and hopefully it's easy for you to differentiate between the 2 pronunciations of this verb, but generally you can just stick with broaden, to broaden your horizons. And if you would like to broaden your horizons when it comes to pronunciation, then I think it's very important that you practice. And that's why I want to talk to you about the sponsor of today's lesson, ELSA Speak. This is a great app to help you fine-tune your pronunciation and practice your speaking skills. And right now, I want to show you some of the cool features when you join ELSA Premium, because there are so many ways to improve your pronunciation, and you can have a back and forth conversation using their AI feature. I can even create my own scenario.
Welcome to ELSA AI. What kind of scenario would you like to role play?
I want to have a conversation at the airport with another passenger who is asking me about things to do once we arrive in New York City.
Sure. I will play the role of a fellow passenger who strikes up a conversation with you.
Let's start.
Hi there. Waiting for your flight too?
Yeah, I'm on my way to New York City. How about you?
Yes, I'm also on my way to New York City. What would you recommend for someone who has never been to New York before?
Well, if you've never been there before, I would recommend going and visiting the Statue of Liberty, as well as the Empire State Building, and even walking around Central Park.
Thanks for the recommendations. Are there any other places that you think are worth visiting in New York City?
I think you should also go see Times Square, and if you like shows, check out Broadway. There's a lot playing.
I'll make sure to add that to my list of things to do. Thank you for all the recommendations.
Roleplay completed.
And then after you finish, you get a full assessment of your conversation, providing you with in-depth feedback. You can also use ELSA's speech analyzer from your desktop whenever you have a meeting or you give a presentation or you're practicing for an exam like the IELTS. There's just so much to help you improve. So join ELSA Premium by clicking on the link down in the description and you can get a 30% discount on a 1-year membership. If you already have a Pro membership, you can upgrade with the new ELSA Conversation Bundle. Once again, check out my unique link in the description if you'd like to get an ELSA Premium membership and take your speaking fluency to the next level. Let's get back to our C1 verbs, and the next one that I have for you is grasp. It has 2 different meanings. The first one is to quickly take something in your hand or hands and hold it firmly. So this is a very descriptive verb. He grasped my hand, or she grasped my arm, or the child slipped from my grasp. There are some other phrases that have a similar meaning. You can grasp an opportunity, you're taking it eagerly, and there's an idiom, grasp at straws. It means that you're trying to find a way to succeed, but whatever you choose, it's probably not going to help you. So think about the situation. You are holding tightly or grasping something weak like a straw, and because of that, it's not likely to save you.
I tried going back to work, like you. Honestly, I'm just grasping at straws, and Cooper was one of those straws.
Mr. President, it doesn't matter where we debrief this man. The fact is, we're grasping at straws here.
The other meaning of this verb is to understand something, especially something difficult. I could tell you the child was able to grasp the main idea of the story. Or if I am able to explain these verbs well, then you will be able to easily grasp the meaning of these verbs and know how to use them correctly. When pronouncing this verb, I think it's pretty simple and straightforward, grasp. But just say it with me, grasp. Excellent. Then we have the verb diminish. This means to reduce or be reduced in size or importance. So you can diminish something. As we get older, our muscle strength tends to diminish. At least that's what's happening to me. But you could also diminish someone. And this has a little bit more of a negative connotation. I could say his careless mistakes diminished him in the eyes of management. So in this case, the mistakes reduced his importance.
It just makes things seem small. It diminishes them.
You must prepare for life and whatever it will throw at you. The opportunities will diminish.
I am shocked, sir. I
like
never...
hell you are. You want to diminish me.
Diminish you?
Laying the groundwork for a challenge in 2016?
For pronunciation, the verb has 3 syllables, and the stress is on that second syllable. Diminish. Diminish. To diminish something or to diminish someone. Fall flat. This is an idiom, but we're going to use it as a verb, to fall flat. This is said when a joke, suggestion, or idea does not have the intended effect. Now, most of the time, you're going to use this when talking about jokes. So right now, I'm going to tell you a couple of jokes, and you can let me know in the comments if they fall flat. If I am what I eat, then I'm fast, cheap, and easy. It's a little ridiculous. Here's another one. You know what they say, never go to bed angry. Stay up and fight. So I suppose one or both of those jokes fell flat. It did not have the intended effect of laughter, but you can let me know. For pronunciation, I don't think it's that difficult. Fall flat. The only thing I want to point out is that there is alliteration, and alliteration is the repetition of the initial consonant sound in 2 words that are next to each other or close to each other. Fall flat. I hope that my jokes did not fall flat.
For your attempts at mockery fall flat.
Let's call it a joke that fell flat and leave it at that.
Robert and Sarah's textures fell flat.
A huge performance tomorrow where a man's joke is going to fall flat.
Next is the verb contradict. And it also has two meanings. It really depends if we're talking about people or statements. But if we're talking about people, it just means that someone is saying something that is the opposite of what someone else said. And people can contradict each other. This happens all the time. Her testimony contradicted the policeman's story. You could also contradict yourself, and often you may follow this verb with that reflexive pronoun. If I were to say, I can tell you everything that you need to know, but I don't know anything about that. I just contradicted myself in saying the opposite. When using this verb to talk about a statement or a fact, it just means that some statement or fact is so different than another statement or fact that one of them must be wrong. I could say new evidence contradicts the established theories on this subject. They're so different that, one of them must be wrong. Just keep in mind that when someone or something contradicts someone or something else, it's not really telling us which one is right or correct. It's just saying that they're either opposites or different. To give you a little more context with this verb, here are some more news headlines. Video evidence appears to contradict Lauren Boebert's denial that she was vaping at Beetlejuice show. OPEC figures contradict Iran's oil production claims. Opinion: liberal climate policies are fine on their own, but contradict each other when together. When pronouncing this verb, it has 3 syllables and the stress is on that third syllable. Contradict. I will try not to contradict myself. Then I have another idiom for you, which we'll use as a verb, and that is to set foot in someplace. This means to go to a place or to enter a place. And you're really going to use this idiom when you want to add emphasis and there's some emotion involved. I could say, I'm afraid to set foot in my hometown because it's no longer peaceful and quiet, and I'm just afraid to go to this place. Or, I'm so angry at my brother, I refuse to set foot in his home, and I refuse to enter his home. So hopefully you can sense that emotion.
I haven't set foot in a bar in years.
If you set foot in this store ever again, I will bring hell down on you.
Unless Cersei grants us an audience and is somehow convinced not to murder us the moment we set foot in the capital.
When pronouncing this idiom, it's pretty easy to say the individual words, but I want you to say it as a phrase. So I want you to think about that final T in foot. I'm from the United States, so I am going to pronounce this as a flap T. It's going to sound like a soft D. This is very common with the American accent when the T comes between 2 vowel sounds. And then we can link that final consonant sound, that flap T, with the beginning vowel sound in. And it's going to sound like foot in. To set foot in. Just listen for it. I refuse to set foot in there. Then we have the verb allocate. And this means to distribute something for a particular purpose. And there are some great collocations with this verb. You can allocate resources, or allocate money, or allocate funds, or even allocate blame. I could say the city allocated money for disaster relief, or the company's profits were allocated to its shareholders. And in these sentences, I want to point out that this verb may often be followed with the preposition for or to allocate for something or to allocate to someone.
For every $100 we allocate to research, we spend nearly $30,000 on care.
In response to your repeated inquiries, it has allocated the enclosed funds for your library project.
For pronunciation, the verb has 3 syllables. The stress is on the first syllable, and that second syllable has that unstressed schwa sound. Allocate. Allocate. Then we have the verb collaborate. I like this verb. It's a great one when talking about work because it means to work with someone else for a special purpose. And often you may follow this verb with the prepositions with, on, to, or in. I collaborated with my friend. Collaborate with someone. We collaborated On a project. Collaborate on something. We collaborated to create new guidelines for the company. Collaborate to do something. We collaborated in implementing the guidelines company-wide. Collaborate in doing something. For pronunciation, the verb has 4 syllables and the stress is on that second syllable. The first and third syllable have that unstressed schwa sound, that sound. Collaborate. Collaborate. I'm sure that at work, we have all collaborated with someone.
Do you want to collaborate on something?
I collaborated with my designer. It was a match made in heaven.
The aliens are thinking as we are, to collaborate in producing explosion.
Next is the verb generalize. This means to make a statement that something is true in all cases based on what is true in some cases. I think we can all relate to this verb because people often generalize when talking about groups. So I'm generalizing when I say salespeople often lie to make more money. Or dogs are more affectionate than cats. Or politicians are assholes. Okay, I'm generalizing and I'm joking, but perhaps that joke didn't fall flat. Let's look at some more news headlines to see how this verb is used in context. Let's not generalize about the kids these days. Don't generalize the LGBTQ community. Smart brands won't generalize when it comes to Gen Z. For pronunciation, there are 4 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable. Generalize. Generalize. One thing I'll say is that you may hear people say the word without that schwa sound, and that schwa sound will elide, and it's going to sound more like it has 3 syllables. Generalize. Generalize. Keep that in mind. Then I have another phrase for you, which is also an idiom, and that is lose your head. This means to lose control and not act calmly because you're upset, you're angry. And often you're going to use this idiom when talking about troubling situations. I could say, it's a stressful situation and now's not the time to lose our heads. Or when my car broke down, I lost my head and didn't know what to do. Now, this idiom may sound similar to another idiom, lose your mind, but that has a slightly different meaning. If you lose your mind, you become mentally ill, you become crazy. So I want you to be able to differentiate between those 2 idioms. Lose your head, lose your mind. But let's just stick with lose your head. When pronouncing this idiom, once again, I would like you to say it as a phrase. And when you say it, assimilation may occur. This is when 2 sounds blend together to create a new sound. So the final consonant sound in lose may blend with the beginning consonant sound in your, and you get this slight zh sound. It's like we're going to put it right between the words, and that allows us to connect them together. It's not something you have to force. If you say these words, one right after the other, it's just going to occur naturally. Lose your head. Hopefully you can hear that slight zh sound. Just listen for it.
Do be careful, my dear children. Don't lose your heads.
Hey, why did you fall in love with her?
Well, you lose your head sometimes.
And then you know what? You're knocked for a loop. And you completely lose your head.
And then we have the verb facilitate. This means to make something possible or easier. And there are some great collocations with this verb. You can facilitate growth, or facilitate learning, or facilitate access, or even facilitate communication. I create these lessons to facilitate learning. And your engagement, when you like and comment on these videos, well, that is going to facilitate the channel's growth. So please do that. For pronunciation, the verb has 4 syllables. The stress is on that second syllable. Facilitate. And just keep in mind that the C has more of an S, that S sound. Facilitate. I hope that you help facilitate the channel's growth. Now for a little review. I hope that I was able to broaden your horizons and teach you some new verbs. And I truly believe that if you are able to allocate more time to building your vocabulary, learn new words, review old ones, that's going to help you more easily grasp the meaning of different words and phrases, and it will help you facilitate clear communication. Because let's be honest, as we get older, our brains, our memory, it starts to diminish. And the next thing you know, you won't be able to differentiate between the mafia and government. But I'll tell you, one of them is organized. That was supposed to be a joke. I don't know, perhaps it fell flat. So I need to get going. I'm going to wrap things up. Please don't lose your head. You are welcome to watch another video lesson and continue building your vocabulary. If you enjoyed this lesson and learned something new, please hit that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.